Okay, this is a lab practical that I'm fairly confident you will have to do one day. This is replacing the inside of your toilet tank. So toilet tanks, as you've seen in other videos we've seen in class, are really pretty simple. They're just ceramic, right? And the water that's back here, although it might kind of, have some, it might look kind of nasty, right? This is quote-unquote clean water, and I wouldn't drink it, of course, unless you're in a survival situation. I don't recommend it, but I'm just saying, everybody always thinks it's nasty, right? It's not nasty. It's just water, and it just happens to be stuff that kind of grows in water, when it sits around for a while. If you flush it regularly, then it really doesn't do that very often. But I have it kind of sitting down here just to kind of show you a couple of the pieces, right, we're going to be working with, right? You have this is the float here, right, and this is the fill valve. So I'm trying to get this to be able to see this. So the float here, this floats up with the water, and this where the valve comes in and fills it up, right? This is the fill valve. It's called the overflow tube, right? And then this kind of comes down here into this part where the water evacuates to go in the toilet. And this right here is what's commonly referred to as the flapper. So when you pull the handle down, right, it opens up like this and it flushes a large amount of water down inside the bowl, and then as it starts to fill up, this will drop back down and seal, and then you have water remaining for the next time it needs to be flushed. You can adjust how much water you want to come in here. Typically you want to use as little as possible, just to save you some money on the water bill. So a couple things, we got a little rebuild kit here. So I bought this at the Depot of Home. They're about, I think it's like 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks. But you got to keep in mind that these are really the only working parts of your toilet, right? Your toilet itself is ceramic or porcelain, if you will. It's not ever going to break, right? Unless you break it with some bolts or something like that. But it's never going to stop working. So the only things that stop working are these components, right? It's easy to replace these, save you a lot of money. Plumber will charge you 200 bucks, but Old Man Sellers here is going to show you how to do it on the cheap. So let's start looking at the bottom. First thing, we'll start down here at the bottom. So yours will probably be attached to the toilet bowl. You will have to take the bolts out right here. So I would flush the water. This is going to be connected to a little twisty valve, right? Twist that off. Turn it to where it's in the off position. Flush it, and no more water will fill up in here, right? You're going to have a little bit in the bottom. You want to get a sponge or towel and just kind of soak that up. Take those two bolts out, right? You might have 3 bolts, depends on your toilet situation. Then you should just be able to lift it straight up and set it down somewhere. Just put a towel on the ground or whatever. First thing you want to replace is this. This is called the spud. So peel this off. This is a big gasket. Then you're going to take out this part right here. So this is where the flapper and stuff are. You're going to need some big pliers for this, but it's relatively easy. Once you get the pliers on there, right, it just comes off the big screw or big nut. This one's kind of chewed up, in all honesty, because I've had students do this one for years. Hold on to it on the inside here. It's starting to spin. So, okay. Set these off to the side. Then you're going to take this little guy over here off. This is the fill valve. So big pliers really aren't necessary, but I already got these here, so why not? It's just going to be a little bolt here, or a little nut here. Same thing, I'm going to hold the fill valve from the inside because it's going to spin otherwise. This will be connected to a line, right, comes out of your wall. You'll need to take that off too. I did talk about cutting it off, but not taking it off. So then you can pull it through. So if we come on back around here, you'll notice that everything is ready to come out, right? This is the fill valve. That's the smaller nut that I took off right down here. And then you have the flush mechanism and the flapper, if you will. So we're going to take off this handle as well. The kit comes with a new handle, so we'll put it on. real easy. Just take that nut off. Typically, the easiest way to do this is take this chain off. Just pull this through. All right, so here's all the old one. We'll set this over here. Get ready to start putting the new one in. That's what kind of blows people's minds about this. This job is minutes. I mean, it takes no time. So here you can still see the float. As water comes up, right, it's going to float up right here. So, and again, you can adjust how much you want. That's what the little screw's for. This is the fill valve itself. So it has water coming in from the bottom out of your wall into here, and it's going to come into this tube here, and that's what fills it up. So kind of position these in such a way. This has a little rubber gasket on it. You want to make sure that's on there. It should be on there. That just sits in there. Then you got same thing with the flush mechanism. It's got a rubber gasket. You want to make sure it's sitting in there correctly. So it just sits in there. We'll spin back around to the other side. Okay. So just making sure that I've got my flush valve kind of angled correctly. Right? Shouldn't be a problem in modern toilets. Of course, they're going to come on the intercom now. Start putting this on. Remember, the gasket's on the inside, so you won't have a gasket on the outside here where the tank is. So as you tighten it up on the outside, it's going to pull the gasket against the porcelain. Get in there. Give it a couple of turns with the pliers. There's no need to over tighten anything on a toilet. That's the number one mess up of homeowners with toilets, is trying to over tighten things on toilets, because the porcelain will crack. You just want to make sure it gets good and snug. That's pretty good and snug. I like it. So we'll put this little guy on. The longest part of this entire job is, no joke, draining the water and getting it out. I mean, this is just the easiest of jobs. Plumber's gonna charge you 200 bucks. I talked to a plumber one time. I was gonna get him to come out, and he discouraged me. Told me, you can do it. Before the days of YouTube, and I bought a little kit like the one I just showed you, and I did it, no problem. I was like, man. He even told me, he said, I'm gonna charge you 200 bucks if I come out. So I fixed it myself for 20 bucks. That's snug. That's all y'all want it, right? Remember this little guy? You don't want to forget this, right? This is called the spud. The spud is going to go down here, and when you join this back with your bolts, right, this is going to secure the water tightness, if you will, of the bowl to the tank. So again, this is the tank we're rebuilding here. So we'll flip back around over to here. So got everything in position. Everything's ready to go. So before I turn my water on, I want to make sure I get my handle on here. So got a new handle, came with it. Let's put that in there. You'll see it's got a little square plastic piece, and toilets usually have this little square cut out right there, like that. I'll put this in here, and you're going to attach the chain on this end, of course. My chain piece. It's my little chain attaching piece here. So what I'm going to do is you want to make sure your flapper is down against it. I don't know if y'all can see that, but flapper, I pushed it down. I'm going to kind of hold the chain up here and see where I want it to rest naturally. So I'm going to hook the chain right about here, somewhere in this range, because I want my handle to kind of come up to the very top. So let's see if I can get that. Set it up. Let's see how we got it fixed here. So look at there. So Oh, I didn't put the bolt on, or the nut on. You see what happens? I didn't put this on. So, give me 1 second. Easy to identify problems in this system. So just putting this on right here. Got my camera set up here. We'll see if it holds. So this nut is backwards threaded. So you'll find that oftentimes in things like plumbing, because turning it when you flush it, right, the normal way you flush it would start to loosen it. So this will prevent that from happening. So now I'm going to reattach my chain. Just a little hole on the end here. Oftentimes there's several holes. You can move the chain if you got something else going on inside of your tank, right? So let's see if it works. Look at there. So when I push down on the handle up here, right, as if to flush it, you'll notice that the flapper opens up, right, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. So can you see how it's opened up? And then it will drop back down, right? And after it evacuates the water into the bowl, it will, the flapper will flap back down, drop back down, and it will to the certain level that you set it at. Right. So again, you can adjust that level with the float. You don't want it to be too high. You want it to be somewhere around, come up to somewhere around the top of your overflow tube, right? You don't, because if it comes up too high, right, this will flow into here and into your bowl, and that will make your toilet run. So have you ever had somebody do that? And they'll say, sometimes they'll say jiggle the handle, right? So if you do this, right, if somebody tells you to jiggle the handle like that, their flapper is bad. They need a new flapper. It's not making a good seal down here. So that's an easy fix. If you're just buying a flapper, it's like $5. So you want to adjust it again somewhere in the, kind of the upper part toward the top of the overflow valve. You don't want it to come above it, right? That's on purpose. This is a safety feature, because if your handle got stuck and it wasn't flushing or something like that, right, you don't want water to come up here and start overflowing the side of your tank, which it would do, right? But it comes over here and overflows into the bowl itself if you have a kind of a problem with like your valve. Like for instance, if your water valve doesn't cut off, this cuts it off when it lifts up. But for some reason it doesn't cut off, right? If it stays kind of in this position, water will just keep coming in, but it'll start overflowing into there. So anyway, quick fix, right? I'm talking less than half an hour. If you got the kit ready to go, it's half an hour total. Save you some serious cash.